Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Hopsgeeknews, your home for comic books, movies, TV shows, and typically we feature a beer of the week. I am Matt. Alongside me, as always, is Lauren, and today's episode is all about Superman TV shows, as we are now inside we're inside a month now until Superman releases. I hope you got your early access tickets if you are a Prime member. Unfortunately, I'm not shopping with Prime. I still have it because I already paid the 100 and something, so I use it as emergencies, but it worked out in this situation because the family and I and our friend Chris and his family have a whole row booked off at Cinemark July 8th to see the film. But today we are talking about things like Smallville, Superman, the animated series, if you will, excuse me. So go ahead, like, subscribe, share, follow patreon.com/hopsgeeknews if you want to support the show, early access, no ads, all of that good stuff. For some reason, our ads have been messed up on Spreaker lately. So weird. But I know you're not complaining about no ads. But my beer of the week is Moon Man from Nuclear's Brewing. I figured this was a good IPA because we're talking Superman some more. So Nuclearis is a very popular, very big brewery. Shout out to Pat, one of our patrons, for sending me this. And then, of course, we always go into beer. We go into our reading or watching, our news, and main topic. So that out of the way, Lauren, what's up?
Not much. How are you? So my beer is Darth Jar Jar or Misa Sith because I couldn't find something.
Swear to God, if you drink all of those before I get to at least just look at the can with my own two eyes.
I got 2 more 4-packs, so you're good.
Oh,
but we're going to be talking TV Superman, and he goes a little dark side sometimes, just like Jar Jar Binks. So we all go a little dark side at times. So that's why I picked this beer, and because it's delicious and I wanted to drink it.
That is true. I can only imagine. I mean, it's a delicious looking hazy and it's tactical. So, I mean, they've always got wicked good readers, right? I mean.
And they're about to drop I don't know if, they probably have already dropped it at this point, a Breaking Bad beer. And I got so excited, but it's a sour, but it's going to be like a blue sour. So it makes sense. However, they should be careful because Knee Deep Brewing, you remember they had the Breaking Bad beer. It was I think a double IPA.
They get deceased?
AMC sent them a cease and desist. Yeah.
Well, tell them we got an in. You review all of Dead City for them, so maybe you can put in a good word. I don't know.
Sure.
Hey, listen,
that's how that works
over there. But we've been perfect little angels, or maybe people just stopped listening to us. So we still don't have anything that we've messed up or looked into. I'm gonna go ahead and say we're perfect.
Timothy, what did he message me about recently? I can't remember now, but it was
he was at wrestling recently, which is cool. I think he was at wrestling recently. Maybe I was making that up. I swear to God he was. I definitely think he was.
Too. He likes
Anyways, wrestling. I do like wrestling. And so let's go into what we've been reading or watching. So this week, my comics, man, I gotta let you know right now because I got the hard copy right here. Absolute Batman issue number 9. Lord, have mercy on your souls, children, because Bane is a coming. Bane is a coming, brothers and sisters. And
you know, crypto?
Oh yeah, there's a new. If you get this issue, there's a preview for Crypto issue 1 coming out next week. So that's what that is. Yes, that is Crypto at the end. I spoiled the end. I'm sorry, but man, put Chef in front of Scott Snyder's name because this man is cooking, absolute cooking in the kitchen with what he's doing. And when there's Bane coming into play, it's probably going to end up bad for Batman. And so you can only imagine that Nick Dragotta, Frank Martin, they are doing amazing. And God, that issue is so good. You got to read it. It's fantastic. This whole run is amazing, which leads me into my next one, Aquaman number 6. This one,
Jeremy Adams.
Jeremy Adams,
one of my favorite all-time favorite guests. He got added to my top favorite moments of guests. Sorry,
because Supernatural.
Mm-hmm. It was just such a good conversation about Supernatural. Yeah. So good. It
was awesome. And so if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that whole episode. Really great stuff with Jeremy. But Aquaman issue 6, this is the calm before the storm. It seems as though things are about to kick off in the next issue with Dagon, and Michael Leffler takes over some art, but still got Rex Locus out there and Jeremy Adams. So this is really vibrant. I love the way that within the artwork, and it can be hard to draw underwater sequences, I feel like, but they make it very seamless and it doesn't miss a beat. But John Timms is still working the cover on this issue, and the cover is just vibrant. It's very bright orange. Arthur is amazing. I'm so in love with this run. It's such an adventure. They're with Nemo still, and they have to stop off for supplies, which pretty much in video game terms, they see a hit save button up in the top corner. It's automatic saving, which that means nothing good's about to happen. And so the calm before the storm, if you will. But Supergirl, number 2.
Sophie Campbell. episode real quick, though. If you are enjoying this comic or you loved any of what Matt was just saying, go back to that episode with Jeremy Adams because it was such a great interview about Aquaman and Scooby Natural and some other supernatural episodes. But the Aquaman, I love that you're getting Captain Nemo. And what spawned that idea was he was at Disneyland in like Japan and the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride inspired that. So I freaking love that. Go there, get more fun facts about the comic. About the show.
We love Disney.
Sorry,
here
I cut
too.
you off. So I just was such a great interview.
By all means, it's exciting when you get excited. That because me, I'm usually always like a puppy. That's great. So when you're showing the excitement, that's how you know it was real, folks. That's how you know it was real. But Supergirl number 2, Sophie Campbell, Becca Carey. I'm really enjoying this one. It's more of an identity crisis for the false Supergirl, if you will. And there's a lot of play into the lore behind Kara. And she even teams up with Lena Luthor as well. And the colors are great. She's in Midvale. It's a very softer. It's not as vivid artistically as you would see with like Aquaman and stuff, but that's okay because it fits the theme of what Supergirl is. And surprisingly enough, it's very good and has adult themes. Like I said, finding yourself, identity crisis, things of that nature. So I really recommend that one. And then 2 more things. You got to check out Star Wars issue number 2. Alex Segarra is writing that. And I love it because Luke Skywalker always just goes off on an adventure, but we're getting more Jedi lore. I mean, he's off finding there's something to do with Jedi lore. And anytime we can get more Force, Jedi, holocrons, artifacts, things of that nature. And Alex really captures the childlike, because this is right after Return of the Jedi. So, Luke's still kind of that childlike wonder, but he's also badass at the same time.
So it's kind of like around the Mandalorian time.
Yeah. But before, I want to say it's before, it's before I think the Mandalorian, because this is fresh. I think the Battle of Jeddah had happened recently. So yeah, I would say it's kind of in that time frame. It makes sense about that because I got to remember when Mandalorian took place.
Well, he showed up season finale of 2, I believe.
Yeah. So he still Luke right now still working with the New Republic. He has not his new temple, Jedi temple or anything yet. So this is probably slightly before all of that, but same general area. However, the very last comic I want to talk about real quick is one that has me really excited and buzzing as well. It's the new Avengers. So Sam Humphries, Ton Lima, Rain Burrito, they are on this one, and it's got Bucky, it's got Natasha, but we also have Laura Kinney in this issue as one of the Avengers.
Loving her Wolverine run right now.
Well, her introduction is her just slicing and dicing and putting her claws through heads, and she's like this goth, emo type teenager, and Bucky's like, look, man, she's basically doesn't want to go with them because I don't belong with the Avengers. And Bucky's, it's not that kind of funny, pal. We're here to kill people, all right? We need you. And I picked you specifically because we're here to kill people and mess some things up. And so this leads him to his next person that he recruits, Namor, which is really funny. Yeah. And so Namor shows up and he's very just, why are you wasting my time, Barnes? I'm not going to go hang out with the Avengers. Or no, he says, I'm not hanging out with the Thunderbolts because if you're calling on me, I deserve to be with Avengers. And so basically he gets recruited, and there's others, but we don't see them yet. And there's clones of these Avengers. So you have a clone of Namor, which is this big octopus squid thing. Black Bolt shows up too. And you're just basically, oh crap, what is going to happen now? So it's Natasha and Bucky they get the freak on as well. So if you're a part of their romance,
that. I like that.
I do too, actually. It's one that makes a lot of sense through all the things that they've been through.
Yeah.
And so it's actually really good. I think you personally would really enjoy that issue. So I recommend that you read that one because I think it's one that you would really read or enjoy. Okay. But that's what I've read. Before I go into the one thing I've been watching, why don't you talk about your review?
I haven't been reviewing as many comics. I've been reviewing like Dead City and doing the book club. So the only I don't have this week's, but I have last month's number 5.
There you
Deadpool
go. That
Wolverine by Benjamin Percy. So this is, I feel like every issue, either Wolverine or Deadpool are being mind controlled. So it's like they go back and forth and you get a little bit of their going back and forth together. But I feel like Ben Percy does a great job of giving us those classic Wolverine lines, being sick of Deadpool, and those classic Deadpool obnoxious lines, just being besties with Wolvie, but it's not the overlying story. There's still so much going on. There is a character that I don't even want to say who he was revealed as because it's such a huge character that everybody who's big into Marvel would know. And you see why Wolverine's being brainwashed and why he's being controlled. And it's just, it's very like, at first it was like, there's too many things going on and now they're starting to like wind together. So maybe
That's
next
cool. Okay.
issue, I will say who the big bad
I love
is
Ben
that
Percy,
we just
man.
found out.
Yeah, the dude, honestly, Ben Percy. I'll get to him in a minute. I'm gonna wrap. Well, this kind of leads into actually what Ben Percy has really relevant. So Predator Killer of Killers. I watched that. That's like the one big thing I watched this week. It was out, came out on Hulu. I have the, the Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN Plus subscription because it's $5 more than just paying for Disney Plus Premium. So I walked back, did some ads. Who cares? And it's an animated, Dan Trachtenberg, who did Prey. He's in this animated world, and it's really fun because you go through different generations. There's the Viking one, there's a feudal samurai one, and then a World War II pilot who they get taken to the predator Yacha, their planet, and they have to kill each other and be the killer of killers because you each killed a predator, and now we're going to take you and go do this. And so that's the basic premise of what this is about. Animation, top notch, amazing. The kills are amazing. The story, the way that the lore plays into it, amazing. And so this leads into Ben Percy because I was like, dude, I can't wait to see what he thinks about it. Because if you know anything about Ben Percy, he's been writing, Wolverine versus Predator. He did Black Panther versus Predator. Now Spider-Man versus Predator. So he's very much steeped into the Predator lore. And so I had to hear what he had to say. And he just posted a review on his social media, but it's really cool. So if you want to get more Predator, Ben Percy is your guy. Go read those Predator verses. And I think he did Predator Kills the Marvel Universe as well. Get your fill in there because it's worth every little bit. And Spider-Man vs. Predators only on issue 2. They just wrapped up issue 2 this past month. So there's still plenty of time to catch up there. And you don't have to read one first. They don't really read like that, but they are very much worth your time to read if you're into this kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I watched and led into Ben Percy. So that's what I have.
So the only thing I watched this past week was Dead City episode 7. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to say the name of this episode, but so this is the penultimate episode. So we only have one left after this. And this one was actually one of my favorites this season because it had it was going back and forth between Negan and Maggie. They're seeing things that aren't necessarily there, but like you're having just as hard a time telling what's real as they are. So it's kind of like a little bit of a mind F word.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. But they also, at this point, for the first time ever, they both really have the same goal, and that is to save their loved ones, save their kids. And but Herschel is very much so not what you would expect Maggie and Glenn's kid to be. So he's rebelling in a way that I guess you can only rebel in the apocalypse. But it's been very interesting. I'm enjoying this season more than season 1. And I'm looking forward to being able to talk about the finale and where that goes from there. If it goes, because the Walking Dead universe isn't going anywhere. Whether or not the show continues
forever till they're 90.
Till
they're 90. Till Daryl's 90, because he is the one that's there still in the universe.
I believe that show got picked up for another season or is filming the other season. I don't remember.
Till Maggie's 90, till Negan's 90, till Daryl's 90.
We'll see. If they all survive, they got to start killing off some of them.
Yeah, do they though?
I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. All right.
When you stop killing people, though, it stops being good.
That's true. So let's go dive into some of the new.
I'm Jeremy Adams, and this is hopsgeeknews.
Anyways, we're back. Yes, there's only a few pieces of news. So I want to start off with the fact that the Galactus popcorn bucket's going to be $80, and it's going to light up. However, they really think us nerds are going to buy just about anything, which they're not totally wrong. For a popcorn bucket, I might be saying, oh man, we good? My thing dipped out. Are you there still? We good? Do you hear me? All right. $80. I don't think so. In this economy, I don't know. I'm probably sitting this one out. I don't care if I'm still got Regal bucks. You don't stay rich by blowing your money on $80 popcorn buckets. Like, come on. Like, it's just going to sit behind me and look good in the camera. That whatever.
Right. Well, it's like I have quite a lot of popcorn buckets, and I got Figment right here behind me. But it's like I like the ones outside of Figment. Don't pay attention to him. That are a little more subtle. That I can like I'm big on the sippers. Like in the kitchen, I have sippers all around the top of my kitchen, but they're all Yeah, it's like Orange Bird is next to
They
sunflowers,
blend
and then
in.
Crush is next to like a nice plate with a sea turtle. My Jawas are next to my growlers, or my
Actually, that's a
Jawa
good
singular.
point. At your house, I've seen them, but I've never you've told me that they're sippers, but I always never they do blend in. I know pay attention to the fact that you have them there, I guess, because they fit the theme and they do blend in so well with your house. So I never
Yeah,
really am like,
Galactus isn't
oh, you
gonna
have
blend
cups
in.
lining. Galactus ain't blending
No.
anywhere.
I'm big on
I'm
the outside of my
like,
bar area. I like the subtle Disney. It's like if you look at the Wyland painting in my
yeah.
living room, Ariel's in it. So I like that.
Listen,
But
I
yeah,
had
Galactus
no
is a
room
little
for
too
the
much for
Disney
me.
castle as is behind me, so I'm like out of space, man. I don't know. I can't add space to the other wall because people are gonna sleep there when they visit, and I don't have a whole other house. I can't put anything in my bedroom. So I'm interested to see, like, how much popcorn is this bucket actually gonna hold? Very curious. Is it $80 a
$80
popcorn?
worth.
You better eat 2 large popcorns at least to get your money's worth if that's the
Does
case,
it at
because
least
you
come
should
with
get free
like
refills.
gourmet popcorn? Yeah,
No,
can you
it's
take it to Regal and get like $2 fills like you can with the Disney popcorn buckets or the
that's what
Universal
I'm
ones?
very I think you probably can. I mean, or at least while you're sitting there, you should be able to get refilled. So you probably got to refill that bad boy. But I'm it's 17 and a half inches tall. So I'm curious, like, how much popcorn is in there? Very curious.
Probably none. They're probably like, oh, the popcorn's separate. Sorry.
Sorry, you got to pay another $10 for popcorn, and then refills are $15 after that. And it's, oh man, what are we doing? Actually, I just paid for a movie for the first time. Speaking of Superman, I paid to see Superman. Got my money at Cinemark because I'm not Cinemark rich. A
Ah,
family of
you're
a
Regal
family of
rich.
4 people. I just paid $75 for 4 of us for the tickets. 2
Well,
kids and 2 adults.
I paid over 50 for 2 because the only one in the theater right near me was 4D, and I didn't even realize. I was just like, "Oh, wow, it's over
Oh,
$25
Superman's
a
gonna
ticket. That's
beat your
crazy."
ass. Oh my god, you're gonna get Lex Luthor's
Josh
gonna
is
come
not
out and literally kick you.
coming. Tabby's coming with me. So I because Josh did not want to go, and he's like, "If you really want me to, I'll go." And so I went ahead and bought 2 tickets, and then I text Tabby. I was like, "Hey, it's on Tuesday. Do you
He
want to
could have
go?" And
wore
she's
his
like,
Captain
"Yes, I'm
America
in."
tank.
I could have what?
He could have wore his Captain America
Oh
tank.
my god, yeah, right.
Well, it's
For
funny it's
anybody
40.
who doesn't
Oh
know,
my
when we saw
god.
Avengers Age of Ultron a million years ago, my husband wore a Superman shirt to that, and it was like right before Batman vs Superman came out.
Oh man, it's good. And yeah, 48, that movie's gonna beat you up. And I can't you're there you are with your Galactus
Yeah.
popcorn bucket. Hold on for dear
Oh
life.
god, it's gonna be so cold because they're gonna put the wind on every time he's flying, so I'm gonna have to make sure to wear
Better
like a
use his
hoodie.
freeze breath. They're really gonna come out and just shoot you with Mr. Freeze's ray gun.
I always turn the water off, and I remember I saw,
I do too. I hate that.
yeah, I don't know why they have that. It seems gross, but like in
Don't spray
Ghostbusters, we
me.
saw the ice one, and Brielle kept turning
Oh
my
yeah.
water back on to the point to where I had to
Well,
go
that's
from like,
good.
"Haha, you're so funny," to "Knock it out." Like I had to switch to
Do it
mom
one
voice
more
in the middle of the
time.
movie. Yeah, I know. One more
Oh
time.
my. They're gonna come out and they're gonna throw kryptonite. They're actually, anytime he gets hit with kryptonite or rocks, they're gonna start throwing rocks at you.
I'm suddenly gonna feel very weak. They put like in nausea-inducing fumes in the
Oh
air.
my gosh, I'm extremely excited. But yeah, I forgot how expensive movies are because this is the first time I've paid for a movie since like 2021. So, um, first world problems, I guess. Anyways, what other news do we have?
100%. Is that all the news we have? Oh, an
No, we
animated
have.
crypto spin-off is coming, so that's fun.
Yes, it
And
is. We're getting another
Wonder
thing from
Woman.
DC. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
Wonder
announced
Woman
today.
is in the works.
Apparently, Tom King is one of the people writing the movie, which his Wonder Woman run is very divisive amongst fans. So I'm
Oh, is he
curious
writing
about
it?
that.
I figured it was just inspired by that run.
No, I
Oh.
thought he was writing it. I would have to fact check
I
myself on
have
that,
no
but I'm pretty
idea.
sure he's writing it.
So we'll have more on
However,
that.
do you have a pick for who they haven't cast? So Gal Gadot's probably out there punching a Palestinian child right now, but
Or having
um,
another baby. Doesn't she have like
yeah,
7 kids or something?
probably mad as hell. I think she is, but do
I
do
thought
you
she was
have
a great Wonder Woman. I thought the second one sucked, but I thought she was a great Wonder Woman in the first one. I don't think she's somebody that I was like, I can never see anybody else playing her. I really like, and I didn't come up with this. Somebody else had suggested it or asked her, was the actress who played Bix from Andor. I think that she would be really good. Like we saw her acting chops were phenomenal. I'm sure she could probably do some badass moves. You saw her do some badass moves in Andor, and she's freaking drop dead gorgeous. Like no, like she's not all done up, and
She's a
she's just
great pick. I liked her,
beautiful.
or the actress who played Clea. She has a lot of range. I feel like her range, and she had that ferocity, but also that sternness and that badass woman feel too. I know this is probably recency bias, and it's going to be somebody that who knows, but those would be two good picks. I also thought the girl who played Mary Marvel in Shazam, she would be my pick because I liked her a lot in those movies. And I thought she kind of carried herself as a superhero pretty well. But I'm curious to see if they go for somebody lesser known or who they have in mind if they're starting. And I imagine probably at Comic-Con we might get a casting announcement since they're going to Hall
Maybe
H.
that'd be
would
cool.
be my guess. I don't know.
Well, it's like, what's David Cornsweet? I have no idea what anything else he's
Cornsweet. Yeah, I don't really know what he's been in. Obviously, Rachel Brosnahan. I know her from Marvel's Miss Maisel.
But
that's not a household.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a household. But then, of course, I mean, Nicholas Hoult. We know him from just about everything and anything, and he's amazing. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Wait and see. But light news week. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take another ad break and get paid 1 penny per listen. So thanks to Lauren's mom for this penny. We'll be back in a second.
Bunnytail Designs Co. is out of this galaxy, with bags for any and every occasion you just may need. Maximum effort was put into every bag, and there's koozies too. Whether you're raising muggles or wizards, these are the bags for you. Or hunting demons, or running from demigorgons, or traveling the galaxy. So get a bag and peep that fit. Great for kids too. Cheers.
All right, guys, buckle up. It's Superman Adventure time. Now, I just want to preface this because one of the TV shows we talk about does involve Dean Cain, and Dean Cain's a dickhead. So screw that guy. He sucks.
I felt like we couldn't skip it, though, because it was such a prominent thing in the 90s. And he's Kara's dad in the Arrowverse.
You do have to mention this show because he was one of the, aside from Christopher Reeve, he is like the other he can never fill Christopher Reeve's shoe, first of all.
I don't feel like he even makes like top 5 live action Superman anymore.
No, he's not, but he was the definitive Superman of, the 90s.
The 90s.
Because, like, that's, for the longest time, that's who you thought of. Because I mean, that's what got him big, really.
Well, he was my first Superman. That seemed terrible to say.
See, there you go. But anyways.
Okay, so let's kick it off with.
I think you froze. Anyways, yeah.
So there are a lot of things on TV that Superman has played that we're not going to cover. So we're going to cover the main ones, and we're going to kick off with Adventures of Superman from 1952 to 58, which you can watch on Prime. So this is starring George Reeves, not Reeves, not related to Christopher Reeve.
Do you remember watching this on Superman? TV when you were a kid?
Fuck off. Oh, no, we're trying not to curse. It's really hard.
That's our one.
No. This whole show aired before my mom was even born, okay? So half this series is black and white and half is color. And when it was black and white, the Superman costume was brown for red, gray for blue, and white for yellow, which I thought was so cool.
Interesting.
And obviously afterwards they went to the,
he wore his brown pants.
Oh man, how did I miss that joke? Good job. All right. So this series lasted quite a few years. It did pretty good. George Reeves appeared as Superman in Lucy and Superman, an episode of I Love Lucy that aired in January of 1957. And in the episode, Reeves appears as himself playing TV Superman. Then in 1954, I thought this fun fact was funny because it made me think of the Captain America PSAs from Spider-Man. So in 1954, the U.S. Treasury Department asked that a short film be made to promote school savings stamps plans to children and was shown in grade schools. And it featured Superman, Lois Lane, and Jimmy Olsen. But I feel like that's probably where they got that from, was doing things like this.
Well, it's like war bonds. No, I mean, maybe actually from that, but I mean, how many people? I think they actually did parade actors and actresses around. Granted, in the 40s, I don't know how prominent it was. It was more of like Broadway musical and all that kind of stuff. Like Judy Garland's of the universe out there parading around. But as Judy movie Garland became, especially during Vietnam and stuff, you didn't really need war bonds then, but you always hear of these celebrities going, and now even USO tours are a thing. Whenever you're deployed, you get. So who knows? I had Conan O'Brien come out. I met Conan O'Brien. So get your war bonds, kids. Think of the troops.
Bring back the girls. Yeah. So there were 2 women to play Lois in this, Phyllis Coates and Noelle Neal. Both later played Lois's mother. Neal played her in Superman 1978, but it's not a credited thing. She doesn't actually speak, but it's like that's Lois's mom. And then Coates played Lois's mom in Lois and Clark. Obviously, that was a much bigger part later on. So I did actually watch the first episode. I always try to do because you can pay for it on Prime, but you can also I had like those free credits, which I highly recommend. If you do that, you can have it ship later and whatever. So in this first episode, Jor-El suggests just sending his wife in the spaceship, not his son. So he was going to let the baby die, I guess. And
That's
Laura
tough.
was like, "No, we should send the baby." And he's like, "Oh, okay, go get the baby.
He was
Wrap
so
the
sick
baby
and
in a
tired of
blanket and get
her.
him." And it's so obvious there is nothing in the blanket. It is so obvious. It's like a flower.
It's like American Sniper where he's holding a blatant baby that's a baby doll, and it's not even.
This wasn't even a baby doll.
It is always weird because you can always tell when somebody has weight in their arms.
Yes.
Oh wow!
But this wasn't even a baby doll. Yeah. You could tell it was like just something in there, and then they did a zoom in of a baby's face. But even when Martha was holding the baby later, I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so Jor-El then says he thinks that the model could handle both of them. But Laura says, "No, I can't go to another planet without you." So she sends her infant son in it, and they just shoot this freaking rocket around. Like, okay, this is why I cannot stand watching older movies and shows, because no mother would actually do that.
Send you away.
Exactly. No mother in her right mind would do that. Come on, man.
I just love that logic. I can't leave you. But the baby,
why?
I'm not really attached. He's like 3 months old. I'm not very attached to this thing.
I can't live on a planet without my husband. What will people think? Here's hoping our baby survives.
Child grow up. You'll find there's plenty more dudes out there, but whatever.
I know, and you would have superpowers too. Come on.
I know.
I've been the first Supergirl, you idiot. So Martha is actually named Sarah in this, and Jonathan was Eben, because Jonathan and Martha don't become the consistent names until the Superboy comics, and that's why we only know them as that now.
Oh, well, we'll get to that when we cover the Superman comics, actually.
When they're, you first go to the Daily Planet and Clark's trying to get a job, you see Perry and he's like on the phone and da-da-da-da, but it's so funny because instead of it being like a different lines and ringing or a cell phone, it's like 4 or 5 different just like black rotary phones, and he's like, "Oh, da-da-da-da," and he slams it and he picks up another one, and it's like, "Da-da-da-da."
It's like in the 60s Batman where the bat phone is just blinking a red light and he picks it up like, "Hello."
Yeah, but it's like you can't even switch lines. They have multiple lines. Okay, so they did have a very cliche opening where we still say a lot of these lines today. And while this has changed a bit in later scenes, each episode opened with Bill Kennedy narrating over the show's theme music, which they're using in the new movie. Well, like a little bit of it. So it was expanded from the 1940s radio show from the Superman cartoons, radio show, and the 1940s Superman cartoons. So Superman was already pretty much a household name. Oh. So Kellogg, the greatest name in cereals, presents The Adventures of Superman. So this is how every episode started. Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a mighty locomotive, able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman.
A man wearing underwear over his pants.
Good God, when are we going to stop doing that? Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend steel in his bare hands, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in The Adventures of Superman.
That was good. That had a lot of radio vibe to it. I could see that. You did a good killer job there.
I hope my Wi-Fi didn't cop out then. So this is crazy. Perfect. Very sadly, this is my last not fun fact for this show. George Reeves actually died via gunshot in 1959. It was ruled a suicide, but many claim that it was not that. After his death, the producers considered continuing the series with Jimmy Olsen becoming the main character and including stock footage of Reeves as Superman. However, the actor who played Jimmy, Jack Larson, he was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't blame him. That'd be very weird.
So if you want to watch this, you can rent it for money on Prime and Fandango at home.
Interesting. One thing that's always bothered me about Superman is this dude is a powerful alien. He chooses to get a job and pay taxes.
Gotta pay his rent. We just want him to rob a bank.
He has an ice castle in the middle of Antarctica.
Truth, justice, and the American way. He's got to buy food. He can't just eat ice.
He's Superman. He moves faster than a speeding bullet.
that's not going to pay for his dates with Lois.
It's
not going to save his parents' farm.
Well, it clearly didn't save Martha. All right.
Nobody could save Martha.
It actually did. Anyways, all right. Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Now, this was from 1993 to 1997 on ABC. This was the one where, obviously, that piece of trash. However, it was only 6 years after Christopher Reeve last played Superman. It stars Dean Cain as Superman, which is funny because he's very not much. Anyways, Terry Hatcher as Lois Lane. Yes, folks, the Terry Hatcher. This series focused a lot on the romantic relationship with Lois, as much as it did on Superman's adventures. This was a first for Superman, but of course, it would not be the last, because this series starts on the day that a 27-year-old Clark moves to Metropolis after leaving his position as a newspaper editor of Smallville Press. He interviews for a job at the Daily Planet under editor Perry White. Clark becomes acquainted with photographer Jimmy Olsen and gossip columnist, Cat Grant, and of course meets Lois Lane. I loved Cat Grant in the Supergirl TV show.
Yeah, Calissa Flockhart.
Yes, that's who it was. Yeah. Yes. And Cat Grant's going to be in the Superman movie, which I didn't realize until they cast. There was a character poster for her. I forget who's playing her, but she's going to be in the movie, which I think is pretty cool.
Nice.
And so at first, Cain was believed to be too young. Interesting. The casting person said, "We're casting Superman, not Superboy." However, his scene with Jonathan Kent talking about how he doesn't fit in got him the role. Cain later voiced Jonathan Kent in the DC Superhero Girls, played Dr. Curtis Knox in Smallville, and he also played Supergirl's dad in the CW Supergirl. In the show, they made Clark a fan of the Buffalo Bills because, Superman loves pain. He loved watching the Bills go to 4 straight Super Bowls and lose 4 straight Super Bowls. And it's actually because Dean Cain actually played for them, which might explain why he's just such a terrible person now, because you don't go to 4 Super Bowls, lose 4 Super Bowls, and come out unscathed, folks. Superman's hair now often looks wet because they had to really paste it down when he flew so it wasn't going whoosh. In true,
it's Chicago. The 90s. He just looked like he swam there like Ross.
Now, Chicago was the skyline for Metropolis in this, as opposed to New York City, like we normally see in the Reeves movies. And in true Lois Lane fashion, Terry Hatcher later played Lois's mom in Smallville. So if you ever want to play Ella Lane, get the job as Lois first. So does this mean we're going to see Rachel Brosnahan as Lois's mom eventually?
Maybe. First we have to do, what was the one from Smallville, Erica?
We'll get there. Yes.
Her name's
now,
Erica,
according to executive producer Brad Buckner, the baby that Lois Lane, Brad and Clark Kent found on their doorstep in the series finale was supposed to be Kryptonian royalty. Had they gone to a season 5, the storyline was supposed to be Lois and Clark protecting the baby from a potential assassin.
As one has to do with a baby.
Yeah. Now, lots of places you can watch this, such as HBO, whatever we're calling that now, Hulu, Roku, Amazon, YouTube, and for purchase elsewhere. Speaking of which, HBO is splitting into Warner Brothers Discovery. That's one piece of news I forgot. They're splitting into 2 companies. Why? I don't know. So
I don't even know what anything means anymore. What is CW? They're not even Warner Brothers anymore, but CW? Warner Brothers is still around.
I don't know. I genuinely have no idea. I don't know.
So speaking of the WB and CW, somebody save me. So Smallville from 2001 to 2011.
Smallville, but this was a banger of an intro.
I binged this whole series, 2 years ago, year and a half ago? Probably 2 years ago. I flew through this thing. I remember watching it while I'm parked in the car line waiting to get the kids on the phone because I was just
This is the perfect time to obviously post our photograph with Superman himself.
I already posted it on TikTok promoting our summer of Welling. Superman and Supernatural.
You got to promote it with the Smallville here. We met Superman himself. Granted, it was unfortunately a week after issues, but we met Superman himself.
As long as nobody died and he learned from his mistake. So,
very true.
I forgot about that. So yeah, he does seem like a very nice guy. And if you like this show, check out Talkville podcast. Some of my fun facts are actually from listening to Talkville. It got me through my 20-hour drive home from Maine last year.
I don't know why I thought you were about to say it got you through your 20s. And I was like, what? What?
This show came out in my this show came out.
I know, but I was like, the podcast wasn't coming out in your 20s, so I was like,
I wasn't even in my 20s when the show came out. I was 18. So this is, of course, not a story about Superman. This is a story about Clark Kent. It kicks off when he is 15 and in high school. Of course, he's 24 in real life. It stars Tom Welling as Clark, Michael Rosenbaum as Lex, Annette O'Toole as Martha, who played Lana Lang in the third Superman movie with Christopher Reeve, and many, many more, including Jensen Ackles, who played Jason Teague. Ooh. While the show follows Clark through high school and immediately after, the finale jumps to him as Superman when he's about 30, and this is the only scene we see of Tom Welling in tights, and it's very CGI. He specifically had in his contracts, no flights, no tights. Throughout this series, it shows how...
I wonder why.
He repeatedly said he was not Superman. He was playing Clark Kent. He was always very adamant about that.
But
so they actually do not have him fly. Like, I think in the first episode or the first season, you see him like levitate on the bed, but he never flies.
That's so lame, though, I feel.
You see a couple moments, like that scene. I think he talked about this at MegaCon. The scene where it's like a gif of him pulling a shirt open and you see the Superman. He said that that's all he was wearing was like the shirt under. He had nothing else on and he just pulls it out. So like he didn't want to do the tights. He didn't want to do the flights. Like he was there to tell the Clark Kent story, which I think was honestly brilliant. I love it.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. I have mixed feelings, but I'm not attached to the show. So what do I know?
I remember like I knew they were about to show him as Superman and I'm like, please don't have the underoos. Please don't have the underoos because I think very attractive man. And he had the stupid underoos and I was like, oh, you just ruined it. It's not sexy. Okay. So. At least this Superman, I'm older than. This will be the first. No, I think I'm a couple years older than Tyler.
It could be worse because what's her name? Allison Mack. I mean, she ended up in jail for a sex cult, so it's not like that was worse than the Underoos.
I feel like she was manipulated. I don't know that whole story.
Probably. I don't know.
They're very kind about her when she comes up on the podcast. I will say that. They're very kind, but they also don't ignore what she kind of became because she's phenomenal in this show. If you haven't watched it and you go back, Chloe is a prominent part of the show from season 1 to the very last episode. She does a great job. She can act her ass off. Her dialogue was never easy. She did a great job. It's really kind of sad, but who knows what actually happened. All right. So where was I? Okay, so throughout this series, it actually shows how so many people were impacted by the meteors that came to Earth the day Clark arrived. Many gained powers and some were killed, like Lana Lang's parents. Jonathan is alive for a good chunk of the show. However, they constantly make it every season like he's going to die. Very similar to the scenes of the guy with one arm and hot tub time machine because Jonathan's going to die. So every single season, you're like, is he going to die? Is this it? Is this what's going to happen? But he lives longer than you expect. So Jonathan was actually played by John Schneider, who was in the original Dukes of Hazzard. The show allowed for a mini reunion of that show with Ton Wopat, complete with some fast driving, and I thought it was actually a really cute nod.
All right.
Terrence Stamp plays Jor-El in this, and he is also Zod in Superman 1978. You see how much he's in, like,
fancy ass Zod over here with his fancy little clothes and jumper. Yeah, man.
So here's a fun fact that drove me nuts, and I had to discover on my own. Aaron and Shawn Ashmore are identical twins. You know them from many things like The Boys, X-Men, Smallville. They're both in this. However, they play very different roles. And again, I emphasize identical twins. Aaron played Jimmy Olsen and Shawn played Eric Summers much earlier on in the show, who was evil. They make zero mention that they look familiar, and it was very confusing to me when you first meet Jimmy Olsen and Chloe is happy about it because I'm pretty sure the last time we had seen the other twin, he was trying to like kill Chloe. So I was like, what's going on? I had to like
very
Google
interesting choice for them to do that.
I mean, at least like make a nod or a joke. Like, you really look like so-and-so. Identical twins. Come on.
Come on, man.
All right, a couple more fun facts. So Christopher Reeve and his Lois Lane, Margot Kidder, do show up in Smallville together. It is very sweet, and this is actually his last acting credit on IMDb.
Oh.
Dave Bautista, this is from the Talkville podcast, was in an episode, and he was supposed to lift Clark over his head. So they're going to set up like the strings and everything so that he can lift 6'3" Tom Welling over his head like it's no big deal. And while they're trying to get it set up, Dave Bautista says, "Why don't I just pick him up and lift him over my head?" And they're like, okay, and
he was a wrestler. That's what people don't realize. Like, look up Dave Bautista when he was in WWE. The dude was a menace.
Absolutely. And the show was this was before he was ever Drax.
Yeah, this was his prime WWE days.
So Luthor Mansion, there are scenes, I think, from the outside is the same mansion as the 2000s X-Men mansion and the mansion used in Arrow. It is the Hatley Park National Historic Site.
Ooh, that'd be fun to go see one day.
Speaking of Chloe Sullivan, who played Chloe Sullivan's a character. She was created for the show. So she's not actually in the comic book at all. But again, she's a huge part of the show. Right. Jensen Ackles was actually second on line to get Clark. Thank God that didn't happen.
Because
They did bring
Supernatural
him
never
in.
happened, right?
Exactly. They did bring him in
Oh.
as a season regular in season 3, which is kind of funny because his storyline, Lana, is
But
like a
Batman
witch.
anyways
So
is
he's
better, so whatever.
yeah. Well, he doesn't look like Superman at all. I think that would not have been
I
great.
don't think he does. He comes across as more of a rugged Bruce Wayne to me, in my opinion. Like
Yeah, he's
something
not.
about Superman is he's always clean. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have a beard.
Well,
He's very
now I'm picturing
clean.
Henry Cavill after that fire, and he's all covered in soot.
Okay, all right. Unfortunately we don't talk about the Justice League. Okay,
I just
God,
keep
we
wanting to
will talk
scream,
about
somebody
Henry Cavill
save me.
Superman, but yeah.
So, if you haven't watched Smallville, though, do it. It's campy, it's cheesy, it's first of its kind, and it's awesome. And it spawned the Arrowverse. And again, check out Talkville. There is a season 11 comic book that continues the story, and it has Christopher Reeve's character to be the founder of Star Labs. IMDb, funny enough, has this listed as the show goes from 2001 to 2017. And that is because there is a scene in Crisis on Infinite Earths that shows that Clark gave up his powers to raise kids with Lois on his family farm in Smallville. You can watch this on Hulu or purchase it on Amazon, Apple, and others.
Interesting. Do you have what are some of your favorite episodes?
Smallville.
If you have any at all.
I always liked
or moments,
so they did the thing, and like you kind of saw this in Chris.
Wasn't Smallville? This is when they had Green Arrow, Aquaman, all of them show up, right? Throughout this in Smallville, because that's when they put
Justin
them as
Hartley. Okay. Yeah, Justin Hartley's Arrow. Oh, what's his face? Was Big Guy Reacher?
Yeah.
He's Aquaman, and he's
terrible.
He's terrible. He definitely had a glow up in his ability to act and his physical features, but he's not unattractive by any means in the show, but he is not a great actor in the show. But then when you see him in Titans, he's a great actor, and I can't think of anything else I've seen him in, but I know he's all over the place now.
Ungentlemanly Warfare with Henry Cavill, he's great in that movie. I will always recommend
I've seen the clip of them drunk. I need to watch that movie.
It's such a good movie. What the League of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I could be getting the exact title wrong, but if you look up Ungentlemanly Warfare, that's it's really good. Henry Cavill and the chemistry, they both have. Alan Ritchson.
There you go, and he makes Henry Cavill look small.
Yeah, the dude is yoked, and he plays Reacher, and he's honestly. If obviously Jensen's probably not ever going to be Batman. He's my pick to play Batman in the DC universe, honestly.
Oh, he could play like absolute Batman.
Well, he's freaking huge, but I firmly believe that he now has the acting chops to play both sides of the house. And you can see a lot of his acting chops in that movie, particularly because he plays like this smart guy, but he's also a badass. Really good movie, but I do like him. But I remember I've seen bits and pieces of, Green Arrow and stuff, and also the kid whose name I forget, but he plays Barry Allen or whoever it is, Wally West.
He's a little kid though.
Yeah, he wears these like the hoodie and stuff, and they just put them in like these bum clothes as their outfits, but they're the color themes, and I'm just, oh my gosh, it was crazy.
Arrow becomes a regular eventually. I don't know if I want to spoil.
Oh yeah, that's right. He kind of runs everything. I don't care.
Yeah, and he ends up with another main character in the show that you meet in season 1. He ends up with somebody. And so I liked how they ended the show. I thought they did a good job. I thought Lois Lane was a great casting. I thought Lana Lang is a great casting. But I always loved when they had Clark go dark side, which I feel like they did quite a bit. And, you saw it a little bit, and I think it was Superman 2.
Yeah, it was CW, man.
Yeah. So but it was so funny because it was like when he went dark side, he was just acting like a normal teenager. And I've said this before on the podcast, like the most unrealistic thing of this show was that Tom Welling was still a virgin when he graduated from high school. Sure. But he was scared. He was
no way.
Somebody. What do you mean? Michael Rosenbaum plays a great Lex. Oh, the guy who plays his dad is phenomenal. Like Danny Glover. He does a great job as that is his name. It's something like that. Danny Glover.
Is it Donald Glover?
Lionel Luther.
It's I don't know.
John Glover. So close. I knew it was a Glover.
There's so many Glovers, man. Okay.
I know.
I was going to say, it's definitely not Donald Glover, and it's definitely not Danny Glover.
I'm getting too old for this. I know. I can't remember.
It's not either of those guys.
But I will say this is also one of those shows when you go back and watch, you'll constantly have those Leonardo DiCaprio moments because of a lot of young actors. Like Amy Adams is in this, funny enough. And she later plays Lois Lane. Yeah.
She does. It's his mom's name.
So yeah, she plays.
I love Batman vs Superman, but it's always still funny. Like it's his mom's name. He's talking about his mom. We know. All right. Anyways,
it's worth watching. Go watch it.
Yes. Why don't you go into Superman and Lois? Because I have, again, this is another one I've only seen bits and pieces of, actually. And not because it's not a good show, because I think the dark side fight that they have in this show to wrap up the entire series is really good. I've seen that, but I never really it's a few seasons and you can catch it on HBO, but I just never got on that train for some reason. Probably because it was CW and I was burnt out by those shows at that time, but I've heard nothing but good things.
So I didn't finish all of Arrowverse, but I 100% finished this and 100% loved it. Yeah, I definitely recommend this. And you can watch it standalone. You don't need to watch Arrowverse. So I'll do this and then we'll wrap up with you'll do some cartoon work. Because I've actually never watched
because I'm a cartoon.
So this is a spinoff of Supergirl in the Arrowverse. Superman and Lois follows the couple with their twin boys, Jonathan and Jordan. Following the death of Martha, they move from Metropolis to Smallville, and they live in Clark's childhood home. When they first move, the boys do not know their dad is Superman. And so as they adjust to country life, Lana Lang and a lot of the other past comes back into Clark's life. Lana Lang's kids become friends with his kids. It's all fun. And Lana Lang is she's Turtle's girlfriend in Entourage, so I was really glad to see her.
Turtle.
I love her too. They really cast some pretty Lana Langs, not in the 1978 Superman. But so as they adjust to country life, I just said that. So this show truly showcases balancing kids, work, health, and being Superman, as well as being somebody who's in Superman's family. So they don't just focus on the struggle for Clark. They focus on the struggle for the kids. They focus on the struggle with Lois and even how it impacts the town. Like that, all of that really weighs on him. So they touch on this emotionally and physically in more ways than one. So it stars Tyler Hoechlin, who we said, and Elizabeth Tulloch. The show beautifully wraps up, and it gives so much comfort and closure in that final episode. As I was typing Jonathan and Jordan while prepping for this, I realized what an idiot I am, because I just realized that Jordan is for Jor-El. I had always wondered why in God's name they would name one of their children after a parent and randomly name the other.
Yeah, the one was Michael Jordan.
But it is
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, okay. So Jordan Elliott is also, though, the alias for Clark after he gives up his powers in the comic arc, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Oh.
So it's a double, which I'm sure that was a nod to Jor-El. So two different actors do play young Jonathan Kent. However, the first one is actually named Jordan, which I'm sure was very, very confusing. So we first meet this Superman and Lois in Supergirl. They were also in Crisis on Infinite Earths. However, this show is a very different universe, and that's why I'm saying you can watch this completely standalone.
Okay.
So the writers decided to place the series on Earth TUD 25 instead of Earth Prime, which is Arrowverse, so as to give it a fresh start. Clark, Lois, Lucy Lane, and Diggle are all the only Arrowverse characters that play their doppelgangers in both things. So Jonathan Kent, Sam Lane, Jor-El, the rest of them were all, Lex Luthor, Jimmy Olsen were all recast. Lillian Luthor and Lionel Luthor are also played by different actors. Additionally, Morgan Edge, though, was used as the human alias for Tal-Rho. So a big part of why this happened was COVID, because they were planning other crossovers and all sorts of stuff that really didn't happen. So that being said, though, if you are like, I'm not into the Arrowverse, or I got bored with the Arrowverse, again, 4 seasons, you can watch it all on its own.
But yeah, everything else seems way better than, honestly, the last half of Arrowverse. Like the production and all of the action sequences don't look like your typical CW stuff.
No,
and
they did a good job.
The drama that they have to manufacture and things really didn't seem CW to me at all.
No, they did a great job. My only issue when it was a big reminder of CW. So somebody in the show fights cancer, and they beat the cancer, and they go to ring the bell. Yeah. But I mean, that plays a great storyline too. I'm trying to be subtle because I want people to watch it, but I don't know anything. Lois ends up with cancer. And so Clark feels so helpless. Like the things he can do, he can't save his wife. And I thought that was so beautiful.
That's a really crazy story. I mean, that's a really good storyline. Not that she has cancer, but like,
but it's real.
My dude is Superman and she's a human and he can do everything but save her. That's deep, man.
It is very deep, but it's not like cheesy. But when she beats cancer and she goes to ring the bell, they all scream, "Screw cancer." And that's not what you're supposed to scream. So that was like a reminder.
You
It's on
moved
this
to
daily.
HBO, okay? You need to just edit, voice dub the other one.
So here's some fun facts. The pilot pays homage to Action Comics #1, Superman's debut, by depicting the hero's original Golden Age costume for the first time in live action. And when he gets a compliment, he's so cute and says, "Thanks, my mom made it." And it also shows him lifting up a green car, which I'm sure everybody's seen that cover. Tyler actually auditioned for Superman and Man of Steel. He did not, however, have to audition for the CW.
Because they probably saw his
Filmed at
tapes
the
and were like, "You're
Vancouver
in."
Sun newsroom, which had been sitting empty because the staff had been sent home to work remotely in March of 2020. Staff were then asked to come in at scheduled times to clear out the personal effects so production could set up. Lois's real life husband actually plays an older version of her son, Jonathan. Lois's real life husband plays an older version of her son, Jonathan Kent, in the show. He also voiced Bruce Wayne before, so that's fun. Lois was supposed to get 7 seasons, but got cut short to 4 because of the new Superman film. I personally think it had more to do with CW totally changing itself, but I don't really know.
They have like wrestling on there now. They put, I think the WNBA actually airs on CW as well. So I don't know that they actually air any original TV on there.
I have no idea. I mean, I don't have cable anymore.
I don't either.
But this was actually the last piece of the Arrowverse to wrap up because there are still some crossovers and it was still considered the Arrowverse. Tyler Hoechlin received a really nice letter from David Corenswet, who is the new Superman, as production of the series was wrapping up. And Hoechlin stated, "I again, very honored and privileged to have been a part of this and super happy to pass it off to David. I'm sure he's going to do a great job." So this was my personal favorite Superman show. I felt like it was the first Superman that had an innocence about him while still being an incredible badass. Even when his powers were dampened, he still like showcased this like brute strength. And I also love the realness that you see when he's defending his kids, whether he's pretending to be weak while defending his kids or while he's literally physically defending his kids or saving his kids. And you really believe that he's so head over heels in love with Lois, and not in a cheesy way. Like, it's just the way they did it up until the last episode. It was beautifully done to the point you're thinking like Tyler Hoechlin really does think that this woman is the most beautiful woman in the world. It was really good. Really good. And again, yeah, the effects were great. And this is on CW, HBO, Hulu, and Roku, and more for purchase.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap up with some Superman the Animated Series bits here. Not going to go into a whole lot, but there's some pretty fascinating stuff because it was airing for 3 seasons from 96 to 2000. And the first episodes were obviously him getting off to Earth. You know, everything starts with Jor-El and them sending baby Superman. Then he gets his job at the Daily Planet where he meets Lois Lane. And I enjoyed this one. Obviously it's not on the pantheon of animated series when you think about Batman the Animated Series, but they actually do intertwine quite a bit. Now, Clark is actually written more contemporary while his powers were more silver aged during this time period. So his character's more aligned to Batman the Animated Series in this show. It actually ends up becoming combined with the new Batman Adventures, and it became the new Batman Adventures / Superman the Animated Series, which is all on HBO. I was watching some of this. It's really good, honestly. It then spins off from there into the Justice League animated series, which is one of the best animated series, period. I absolutely adore the Justice League animated series, but we're not here to talk about that. So Tim Daly was the voice of Clark Kent / Superman. But there is another voice, Lex Luthor's voice, who is Clancy Brown. We know Clancy Brown.
Love him.
Yeah, he's everywhere. He was Lex Luthor.
He is everywhere.
It was really cool.
Oh, so, he's in Star Wars Rebels and Dexter and the Gen V. He's everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. So Clancy Brown was Lex Luthor. Great voice actor. And in the time between the initial end of Batman, Steven Spielberg actually approached Bruce Timm about his admiration for his previous show while being curious about an adventure cartoon. Spielberg asked Timm and his crew to come up with concepts for him to look at. One of these ideas eventually sprung into Freakazoid. Never seen that. Now, it involved Freakazoid is about a crazed superhero, although Tim had aimed for a straightforward hero show rather than overt comedy. Anyways, Warner Brothers was anticipating a feature film of Superman at this point. As you know, Nicolas Cage was screen testing for Superman. This is all during the same time period.
Seen the screen test.
Yes.
In the flesh.
This was it right here, man. Oh God, what could have been? We could have had Val Kilmer or George Clooney with Nicolas Cage. Oh man, world's finest. So that's what they wanted to make a television series alongside of the film, which led to Gene McCurdy to approach Bruce Timm about the idea of doing a series on Superman. He agrees to do. Initially, Tim struggled to find his visual style to the point where he thought of trying to aim for a retro feeling similar to Fleischer Studios' Superman cartoons back in the 40s. An original character design sheet was showed to them, and the characters were stylized in more 40s, 50s style. It's more along the lines of the live action Adventures of Superman TV series. However, Tim decided that he could not compete against the perfection of the past. Although he would actually go on to utilize the influence from the classic decor, which he described as bright, futuristic, optimistic, ocean liner art decor, much more in line with the Superman character. Yeah, he's all artsy.
Ocean lion art decor. It makes me think of the Mickey boat.
Yeah. Oh God, don't even get me started right now. The way a Mickey cruise would just it would solve all of my problems for 3 days, dude. As with the first season of Batman, the opening theme sequence of Superman lacked an on-screen title, but also like Batman, the opening theme of I already just said, excuse me. Sorry, I'm repeating myself now. Jeez. Woo. Instead of being an instrumental piece played over various scenes from the series, the character design for the title character was not inspired by one of the comics. However, it was actually inspired by the Mighty Hercules from 1963. With the design of the title character, DC then asked Tim to give Superman a mullet, to which he actually refused. Now, the three main bad guys of this series are Lex Luthor, Brainiac, and Darkseid. There are many villains spread throughout, but these are the three reoccurring main villains. And in this series, the writers decided to alter Brainiac's origin by making him a Kryptonian artificial intelligence instead of an alien, which gives him more of a personal rivalry with Superman. The producers of the show found Brainiac's character and abilities interesting in the comics. However, they really did not like his original design, so they really wanted to alter his appearance, essentially. His green skin was replaced with an icy blue coloration, and the rest of his outfit became a mix of purple and gray rather than pink and black. Corey Burton's vocal performance as Brainiac was done in a cold, low effects style similar to HAL 9000 in Space Odyssey films, funny enough. And it was also a mix of the control voice heard during the opening narration of The Outer Limits. Now, before being cast as Brainiac, Burton also read for the parts of Superman and Lex Luthor, which Clancy Brown, funny enough, also read for Superman before being cast as Lex Luthor. So what could have been, I guess.
He's a much better Lex. I don't see him as Superman.
No, he doesn't have the voice. His voice is very deeper and grave.
And most of the time he ends up playing somebody that you think is a good guy, but isn't a good guy.
He's always a bad guy.
Rebel. He's a good guy in Rebels and in Ahsoka. I love that he played the same. Was he somebody of
in the live action series and Rebels? Yeah.
Yes, that made me very excited because it made that continuity better. Why can't I remember what the planet is called?
I forget to. However, going back to this, there was actually a 68-issue comic book adaptation, which took place from 96 to 2002. Some of the key writers we have is Paul Dini, who did the first issue, Mark McCloud, Mark Millar, and Evan Dorkin. Now, there's actually an altered sequence in the Apocalypse Now Part 2 of the series. Now, it was later altered from its original airing on February 7th, 1998, where originally Dan Turpin's funeral was an homage to Jack Kirby and featured several of his comic book creations as attendees to the funeral, which included Nick Fury, the Fantastic Four, Big Barda, Scott Free, Orion, and others. Now, alongside Kirby's friends and fans, Mark Evanier, Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Alex Ross, his father Norman Ross, and Stan Lee also appeared. These characters were actually later removed, and the scene pacing was re-edited for subsequent airings and its DVD release on Superman the Animated Series, Volume 3, Disc 3. Neither DC nor Warner Brothers ever commented on this decision to alter this particular scene. However, it has been speculated that the copyright issues regarding the use of likeness of Marvel Comics characters and the longtime rivalry between the two companies may have led to the deletion of this. And, when Superman the Animated Series was released on HBO Max and Blu-ray in 2021, the original version was actually used. So if you own that from then, yeah, it was originally. Now, one of my favorite arcs from this is the season 2, episode 16 to 18, World's Finest, when Kevin Conroy's Batman visits. It's a clash of two worlds, man. The 90s, two things that I grew up on, which is obviously Batman the Animated Series, which is my comfort show, and then Superman. And this is World's Finest. This for us outside of comic books, this really is one of the first times that Batman and Superman's worlds collide in a film television kind of world. Granted, you had some comics, you had things like that, and
it mentions in both.
Yeah, loose mentions. I wonder if Superman ever has this problem, but this is really when like their worlds, and obviously Kevin Conroy is the definitive voice of Batman for so many people out there. I
have the song stuck in my head. This is what it's
like
when worlds collide.
I was thinking, yo, are you
ready?
Yes. Yes. Funny enough, that's Rob Zombie's brother. Now, anyways, also in season 2 is when they introduced Kara and just a lot of really good episodes. So that's kind of what I have on the animated series. Now, next week, we are going to continue with the Brandon Routh Superman Returns.
Indiana Jones. What is wrong?
I do too. And I've been playing the game and the Arrowverse.
Yes, because he is in both as Superman.
He is Adam. He is. And we saw him, didn't meet him, but we were near him in his
presence.
Yeah. He's a really nice guy too. So
I went to a panel with him, but it was as him as Adam in Legends of Tomorrow.
Yes.
He's a great actor. Going to that Superman panel.
His Superman movie was almost ahead of its time and came out the wrong period, and we breezed.
I can't wait to rewatch it. I don't think I've watched it since it came out.
I saw it in theaters, and that's the only time I've watched it. I would love to rewatch it. Unfortunately, the guy who plays Lex Luthor is Kevin Spacey, we know is garbage.
Oh, that's right. Oh, and what's funny, here's a fun fact for next week.